everyone. It is Asma here from Youth Speak, and we're so excited for another episode of the Speak Real podcast. We're going to be sharing one on one stories with our youth speakers about the lessons they've learned and their life experiences. We believe that storytelling is the best way to empower youth and give them a platform to find their voice. Today, I'm here with Hami, and we're going to talk about his journey with mental health. So, Hami, just to get us started, I want to ask you to describe a characteristic you aspire to be in one word.
I know that I just want to be someone that when I pass away, I will be remembered as someone that made even a little change in the world in a positive way. That's what I live to do.
That's incredible. I think that's kind of like what I'd like to add to my list as well. Like you want to be that kind of person.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So talk to me a bit about your childhood. What was it like growing up?
So I spent most of my childhood back home. I come from Iran, came to Canada in 2008, so roughly 12 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Childhood was pretty good when it comes to being loved by parents or the surroundings. I think was pretty nice until I hit my teenagehood, because back home the culture is very different. So it just started getting kind of hard when I could think for myself. I think it was like 12, 13, and I couldn't just accept what everyone else was saying. I guess I was just like one dimensional. Back home it was just study and come home and that's it. But I couldn't really express myself that way. So I would say up to like 12 years old, it was pretty nice. I had a lot of people that loved me and I loved them. Pretty big family, united, which was really good. And but I don't know if that's considered childhood or not. My teenagehood, I guess it's the same for everybody. That's the time that we all go through the most challenges, right? That's when it got kind of tough.
Yeah, that's I definitely agree. I feel like around that time for me, like things started to get really tough as well. Especially with like knowing what words to put to your feelings and how to talk about them. I found that really hard as well.
Exactly.
So within your journey, what would you say is the biggest challenge that you face?
So the biggest challenge definitely kind of came face to face with me when I immigrated here to Canada. Reason was, or I think the reason was that this is kind of like a free world comparison to a lot of other countries, including mine. So I was able to actually explore myself and do what I want and say what I want and express myself, especially to my parents. And when I did that, it wasn't exactly what they hoped it would be, because they came here with a dream of me and my sister going to school, studying, and just go to university, just keep going up and up. But they even never learned anything about relationships or mental health. Back then, if you talked about mental health, they'd be like, "What are you talking about?" Right? It was like, just like have a glass of water or something.
Yeah, pray it away. Yeah.
So yeah, once I came here, and I'll just be honest because I think it might help some people. Back home, the schools are all boys and girls are not in the same school, and that's not just like a Catholic school, or it's the same with every school. So me growing up, I never really had the chance, and I'm a straight, so I like girls and I like girls now, but I just say that to be clear. So I never had the chance to actually like socialize with them and see come up with like lines to say hello, or simple things that a teenager would do. And then when I came here, I was really good at studying, so I was like, wow, I'm gonna go there and everybody's gonna be like, yes, you're so good at this and that, but nobody really cared. When I realized that I can't really sit down and talk to anybody, let alone if that was a girl, it was even worse. I had no social skills because I never learned anything. I just felt like I'm literally a baby that was just born, doesn't even speak the language, so it was pretty similar. So I had to learn everything from scratch. That was the hardest thing, because my parents wouldn't really support me because they thought that the Western world is affecting me in a negative way or whatever. They just thought they're in control. So I just felt really alone, like very lonely, because they didn't really feel the connection they had with me. They felt like they're losing me. So I had to go through a lot of, I would say, I don't know what to call it. Maybe I would call it the thought process, a very long thought process to actually pinpoint what I need to do to find myself and to actually be able to introduce myself to someone, because I didn't know even what to say. I just know I'm Hami, I'm from Iran, and I get good marks. That was I had nothing else to say. I know I want to have a lot of things to say,
Yeah.
but I couldn't. So then I took different steps to gain some confidence and be able to actually find out more things about myself, because I felt like if I was a stranger here to everybody, but most importantly, I was a stranger to myself. I couldn't recognize myself at all. That was the biggest challenge to date.
That is that's a very hard struggle to deal with, and I kind of relate to that myself. Like, being an immigrant and having that experience of like being born again, because it's such a different world, right? And then like it's kind of natural to like see something so different and be afraid of it. But
Yeah.
I'm really interested about the steps you took to overcome this challenge of identity.
Yeah. So I just knew that I need to kind of find a home in my thoughts or in my mind, even in my soul, because I felt like I'm kind of homeless. I would go to school, no friends, nobody even cared, and I would come home, and my parents are like always worried that I'm doing something wrong. So I knew that I have to find a new home for myself, and I searched in my head, and I realized that I really love this drama that I used to watch in Iran. It was a Korean drama. This guy, his name was Jumong or something, and he was a legend, right? He basically like is like he was the founder of Korea or whatnot. But the most important thing for me was that he did Taekwondo.
Mhm.
But me, I never saw myself as someone that can do martial arts, right? I just never thought. I loved, like, I would fantasize in my head that I'm jumping around,
Mhm.
like breaking boards or going to competitions and things
Oh
like that.
yeah.
So I knew that if I can convince myself to just take the first step and go to a taekwondo club and just join the club, it would hopefully become like a home for me. So I can, you know, what do you call it? Like seek for comfort whenever I'm not feeling well. And it did turn out to be that way. I found the club pretty close to my house. I would, like that didn't matter if it was snowing or it was like -40. Didn't matter if it's like a thunderstorm with like hail coming down. It didn't matter. I would get there every single day. I went there for like 3 years, and I still didn't speak English very well. But I guess it kind of like resonated with the fact that my master didn't speak English, but
Mhm.
we were connecting in some level that was really interesting to me. And that's the first time I felt like, you know what, this is probably this is some level of love that I'm feeling toward my master.
Mhm.
So like I felt like if I learn more about myself and I can actually express myself, then I can maybe explore more things about myself, so one day I can find the actual love that I'm going to live with. And it was amazing because we didn't speak, but with like sign language or whatever, I
Mhm.
would I would communicate. And I started going to like tournaments. I got belts and stuff, so I won a few, which
Wow.
boosted my confidence. So I felt like, you know what, I'm not that one-dimensional guy that everybody told me I am. So if
Mhm.
I discovered this over 3 years, if I dig more, I can find out more things about myself, personality, and
Mhm.
things that I might love that I never even paid attention to.
Mhm.
And I digged more and more, and I realized what I loved, and that's the steps I take to start my business today. But
Wow, that's
yeah,
incredible. The fact that you started with that one step, watching a movie, and then coming onto Taekwondo and just creating that amazing connection with your master that and you ended up pursuing it and won so much. It's a really inspiring story. Thank you for sharing that.
thank you, thank you.
Um, so, so Hemi, what has been like the best kind of advice that someone's given you through your journey?
So this is this is the so to answer your question, I'm just gonna tell a little thing here in parenthesis. I always thought growing up, I thought, and maybe it's because I was angry or I just wanted to prove myself or whatnot, but I always had this idea that um, that the richer you get, the bigger you get, bigger in a sense like the more famous you get, or the better job you have, or the more employees you have, or the bigger boss you have, is it kind of like indicates how successful or how happy you are.
Mm-hmm.
But I had this thing in back of my head always telling me, I don't think so, you know, because I made a lot of mistakes and I realized that, you know, I lost a lot of friends because at some point I was making money and I lost myself and I thought that I have it all. But then, you know, but I was still thinking, oh my God, if I get rich, oh my God, if I do this and that. And I was just hoping that I can ask someone one day if that's true, someone that I can count on, someone that I respect enough to take their word for it.
Mm-hmm.
My professor, this particular professor, told me if you end up getting like offers or job offers or things that people tell you and sounds or seems like a big opportunity, they're not always big opportunities. They might
Mm-hmm.
bring you some how would I put it, some luxuries for a short time, but long term you might actually become miserable. So
Wow.
yeah, so that to me kind of eliminated the need to be always thinking about, oh my God, I'm being behind, oh my God, what can I do to get there faster? Because I realized, you know what, it's literally about the journey. You know, it's not about the destination. Because look at what happened, you know,
Mm-hmm.
COVID hit and we all thought we were doing something, doesn't matter what it was, and we're like, nope, sit home, you can't go anywhere. That could
Yeah.
very well happen with a lot of other
Mm-hmm.
things, like a meteor or you know,
Mm-hmm.
another disease, or I don't know, power grid might shut down, or something like that. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's probably the biggest or the most inspiring quote that I can tell you I learned from someone that I know.
Mhm. And absolutely, I think it's something that often we don't think about. Is this always going to stay the same? Is this opportunity I'm being given really the right one for me? And I think the fact that thought critically about it and came on to the fact that it is about the journey. That's what we hear, but knowing it experientially, it's like something different. It's really powerful. Um, if you could go back in time, what advice would you give yourself?
I would say, I know this now, but I would go inside my brain and kind of like make it a, how do I put this, make it have like really strong roots there so that I could actually do it the way I'm doing it now. There's a legend that said one time, live live as if you're gonna die tomorrow, and live as if you're gonna live forever at the same time. If you can master that art,
Mhm.
then you're not gonna lose any love. You're not also not gonna beat yourself up for everything. And I've been trying so hard to do that. And there were moments that I was angry, and I thought I didn't think that, you know, I could lose someone if I'm being mean to them, or I thought I have it all and I thought I have it forever. If I had that mindset, then maybe the ones that I lost would still be lost. Maybe, you know, they would still be in heavens, but I wouldn't feel so bad for the rest of my life, thinking that I could have been nicer. You know, I could have maybe called them one more time,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. No, I really feel that statement. And I think it just what you said, like um, live like you're gonna die today, die tomorrow, but live like you're gonna live forever. It's so powerful, and it's it's kind of a freeing mindset. And um, I relate as well, like having lost people in my life. You always have that thing of if I had just said this, if I had just done this, and I feel like the lesson we learn from that is kind of along the lines you're saying, like, you never know what's gonna happen. We have to really appreciate all of these moments. So
Yes.
yeah, I really, really appreciate that. Um, you've shared some really awesome points throughout your story, from your journey with Taekwondo to your journey with work and, disentangling opportunities and going through loss. I feel like I really resonated with your point on, the last point that you just spoke about, that, we have to really, like, every second of the day matters. And how you mentioned before that we really don't know what's going to happen next. I think that's a really, really powerful message. What does it mean to you now, having learned what you've learned about living in the moment?
So maybe luckily, I have to I have to think about that statement every single day, every single phone call. I don't know if it's related to here, but I have my own business now, and it's a car dealership, and probably
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people can relate. It's not the cleanest business out there, especially if you don't know what you're doing, or if you don't have certain rules to abide by for yourself, like ethics, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel it every day. Somebody might call me and tell me, hey, I want this car. And in my head, I know option A, you tell them this, option B, you tell them that. Option B makes you this much money, option A makes you no money or a little money. Then that comes to my head right away, that, I mean, like, if obviously it's the right thing to do to help people. I'm not gonna. I don't think anybody in the world would feel great by hurting people or ripping somebody off. But I guess it's human nature to maybe sometimes tell ourselves certain things to make ourselves feel better for that short-term comfort or luxury or whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell myself, I'm like, listen, you're not hungry, right? You're not rich, but you're not hungry. So if you pass away in 10 minutes, if you get hit by a car or something happens, right, and you pass away, is this the last thing you would want to be in your head? This is the last thing you would want to do? What's the last thing you would want to do, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
what if you're alive for until you're like 120 years old? You're still probably not gonna forget this moment. And if you don't do this right, the next one, you're still gonna convince yourself to not do the next right thing. Next thing, next thing is how do I say it? Don't do it fairly, because you didn't do the first one right, so it doesn't matter. You can do the next one. You can do the next one. So you're still
Mm-hmm.
gonna pass away at some point. What if it's 120 years? It could literally become like hell, living with that and knowing that you didn't do the right thing, and it's just gonna become harder and harder to do the right thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like, like you mentioned, like that short-term comfort, it often becomes about that rather than a person being, bad or doing a wrong thing. Sometimes we don't know how to prioritize, and it could be like, oh, I'm more important than this person, so I'm just going to put my needs first. And at the end of the day, those actions really do kind of come back to haunt us, whether or not in our immediate consequences. It's still in our mind. It affects our emotions, and it's kind of like, um, we kind of learn that through life, right?
Sure.
That it's
Yeah.
always, we feel good when we're good to people, and we take that second to think about them.
Exactly. And you know what? I have to agree with you. And I've had the place for a year now, and because myself and my team, we have that book of ethics for ourselves to treat people right, or treat them like family. If I sell something to my family, then I will sell it to somebody else. So we have had reviews on Google, people, literally real people, saying the same things that you just mentioned. They just say that they felt comfortable there, they felt like they're being treated like family, and they wrote it themselves. We didn't push anybody to do anything, right?
Mm.
And the feeling that it gives us, literally, like the smile that puts on our face, is worth $1 trillion. I can't even put a price on that, right? It's
Mm.
feels so great to
Mm-hmm.
make people feel like family, to make people feel safe. And I don't think there's any bigger reward than that in life.
Absolutely, absolutely. I know it always makes my day if I can make someone else smile. So that's amazing. Well, Hami, I want to thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your story. It's been truly inspirational and very empowering. And just before we go, I want to ask you one last question. If you could describe a characteristic you see yourself as now, what would you say?
I see myself as someone that has made peace with the fact that I can never be perfect, but just want to be better. So if I was to maybe picture it, I would be someone standing on a road, really long road that you can't see the end of it, but I'm happy that I can't see the end of it.
That's
And
beautiful. Wow.
yeah, and that gives me peace, because
Mhm.
I I used to really want to look forward to the next turn, and that bothered me a lot. I just wanted to know what's going to happen at the end, but
Mhm.
now I just know that I just take one step. If I help one person along the way, then I made the world a better place, even a little bit.
Yeah.
And I just want to do that, and I hope that I'm that person.
Mhm. Mhm. I'm sure you are, and I feel like you have a lot to offer, and you have been to the world, like really. Um, it's like about those little steps, those little moments, and it's about the journey. I want to thank you once again, Hami, for joining us, and
Thank you
thank
for.
you all for joining our episode of the Speak Real podcast. If you want to hear more stories, subscribe, comment, like, and share. Join us next time because we're here every Thursday. If you want to help support our Youth by Youth project, please visit us at youthspeak.ca. You can donate and spread youth mental health awareness. And I also just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, TD Bank Group. Thank you so much for supporting our online program.